today, but I just decided to call it a good lesson from a bad man, and I left all the names out because I thought that would be a lot simpler. So, look, bless you tonight. Do you know what? One of the things that we've been looking at, or we've been talking about on Sunday, was about how to write on the tablet of your heart. And you know, it's really, really important that we pick that up. You know, it's the reason why we get stuck in 23 in many ways. And you'll be stuck as you go into 24 if you don't realize how to work the things in your heart. It doesn't matter what demons you want to cast out, what prayers you do, whatever you want to set your life to, until you learn the simple principle of writing on the tablet of your heart. Your heart is the vehicle or the perception tool that God gave us. And so often we live out of our minds and how we think, and I'm basing where we're going tonight on that. Although it's going to be a different way to look at it, but I want you to understand, unless things are written in your heart, you're going to be steered toward everything that your mind says and what this world says. It doesn't matter what verse you read. It still doesn't change. Your heart is your heart. And God is a God of the heart. God speaks to your heart. God communicates to your heart. You know, and so often we're trying to engage your brain to hear him. Do you know when you sort of pray and you go, oh, God, speak to me, you know. And then you think, oh, I think maybe in here because something from your heart is starting to speak to you, or your spirit, or whatever way you want to look at it. But the Lord often talks about our hearts. So as we're moving through 2024 and moving through a door, we're probably trying to do this. Do you know what, Lord? We want some things that's in our heart that haven't been there, or maybe have caused us to get stuck. Say stuck. Look at the person beside you. Now, don't they look stuck? So there you go. So we know we're on the same page, okay? So I need, oh, by the way, I need people to help me tonight, okay? I need 9 volunteers, okay? So you just need, I need 9 people. Could 9 people step forward? And I'm going to challenge you. You're going to be challenged. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I need another one, just one. Who come up? 1, 2, 3, 4. I need one person. There must be. Is there another one? Okay, turn and face me. Turn and look at the most handsome preacher in this room at the minute. I'm going to give you something. I was going to do this with £50 notes, but I realised I didn't have any. So I thought £1 would do. It's worth about £1 now in old money.
Here, she keeps time on.
That's okay, go and sit down, thank you. Later on I'm going to talk to you. Now you're trapped. Some people are smart enough to say, I'm not moving. I was going to do it with a tenor actually, but Gwen said no. She said no, she didn't know. So we're talking about a door in 24, and I want to say this to you because I think lots of people don't actually engage with things regarding the money when it comes to the Bible, or coming when we think about God and think about how we're doing our life. And the goal of 24 maybe is for you to make more money. I don't know. Or to get more money, or maybe thinking about how, when I'm talking about money, is how you get the most for your money in 2024. So I want you to hang in with me, because money in many ways is a door that shapes our lives, that causes us to go down certain roads. And if there's anything that I've realized in my 42 years of being on the planet, is that is that John, be quiet, is that there's lots and lots of people in the world who are so smart, so skilled about how to make money, and the church so often falls behind. I don't think it's the way it should be, but tonight I want to look at getting a good lesson from a bad man, because I think sometimes bad people can give us good ideas. And I think that Jesus tells a story in the Bible about a bad man with a good concept. And I want to have a quick look at it tonight so we don't stay stuck. Because we don't want to be stuck in the old format in 2023. I was listening to a guy, sorry, I'm not good with names. I think his name was Stanley Toussaint or something, or Toussaint or something like that. But he sort of said, look, sometimes you can get a bad teacher who can teach us something good. And it's where it started me down the road just thinking about this. And I want to look at a parable in the Bible that Jesus taught, talking about it's a rich man sort of parable. And it's in Luke 16. We're going to look at some positives and some negatives from this, what Jesus tells us in the story or the narrative. And it's Luke 16, 1-8. We'll find out what the story is. And then we get a bit of application in it through 9 to 13. And it's really our door, or if I said it this way, it's a map for us to manage some of the stages that we're going to watch this bad guy do, okay? So it's a map that we can say, hey, I see how this works. So I want you to switch on to think, I'm looking for something that will help me. So when we go to this parable in Luke 16, we're going to see about this manager of finances. The first thing that happens when it comes to money. Now, put your hand up if you're loaded. So we know who to tap. Put your hand up if you've ever squandered money. Been foolish, been uncaring with it. Wow, okay. So most people here are saying, I've been uncaring. And that's the first thing I want to bring to your attention about this guy. He was uncaring about finances. And so often we can get caught there. So I'm just going to read, because it's going to open tonight, I'm going to read Luke 16, 1-2. First two verses, I'm just going to work down through these. And when you hear what it says, this is about a dishonest manager, should I say, not well, he's kind of rich. He also said to the disciples, Jesus is speaking, there was a rich man. So he's got some dough. There was a rich man who had a manager. So he's paying him well, I kind of figured. And charges were brought to him that this man was wasting his possessions. And he called him and he said to him, what is this that I hear about you? Turn in your account of your management, for you can no longer be manager. Now, when you're thinking about this manager, I kind of figured he was renting property off the rich man to make money. And when he was making money, he would have paid rent for the property, whatever it was, and he paid his dues. But he was filling the books. He was being uncaring about how he looked after somebody else's produce. And this rich man says, I want you to give an account. I want you to give me a record. I want you to write down what you've been doing with what's mine. You've been misusing my money. You're sacked. You're out of here. You're gone. It is over for you. And the shocker for this guy is, I've been caught on. Have you ever been caught on? It's rotten, isn't it, when you've been caught on? And he's been caught on. And I want you and I just tonight to look and think about his actions. And I'm wondering what he wrote in his heart, if you were here on Sunday. But I wonder what he wrote in his heart. I wonder what was in his heart, why he thought I could be uncaring with this rich man's money. I wonder at that point, when he heard the rich man saying, someone told me. Did he go into the blame game? I bet you it was Anna. Anna's always had it in for me. She squeals. She's the squealer. Or maybe it was a squealer Smyth, because that sort of rhymes. Who knows? Maybe it was somebody that was bald. So there's only a few of us in here. But there's something that this guy in his heart, something must have rose up. He must have been sort of really offset, taken back. Maybe he had a conspiracy theory. That's because I mistreated such and such or such and such. And they've done this. And they've done this against me. on maybe the accusations we're running. It doesn't really tell us, but it's wide open for it. So we realize that this guy, first stage of his life, I'm just incurring, I just throw money about me, I've got enough, I'll just blow it, so on and so forth. The second thing that we look at, all of a sudden we realize that, well, the guy's upset. He's upset about being caught. You'd be upset about being caught, right? I mean, right? No, you want to be caught. Let me just pray. But he's upset. He's got a problem. And the first rule of when you have a problem, you've got to see a problem to solve a problem. So he has to really take stock, and I think that's what sometimes we don't do when we've been a bit uncaring with finances, and this is just really on time because it's just after Christmas, and you blew your money and the child played with the box. Remember that story? Oh, look at the new box I got. What about the toy? It cost me £500. I like the box, thanks. And kids do that, don't they? But here he goes about solution finding because he realizes he's got an uncaring attitude, and now he's got a big problem he's got to sort, and he's been upset, and we realize this is sort of the second stage. I'm upset, I've been found out, I need to find resolve. So as we go in verse 3, it says this, and the manager said to himself, so he starts talking to himself. It's a good idea to talk to himself because nobody else at that point can he trust. And the manager said to himself, what shall I do? My master is taking the management away from me. I'm not strong enough to dig. I could dig for an hour, but after that, I'm done. I can't dig all week. I'm not built that way. I don't know how to do it. I'll get wee blisters on my soft hands. I can't dig. I'll hurt my back's sore, my knees are sore. I can't do that. So he's thinking it through. He's saying, I've got a problem. I've lost my home. I've got to find a way through this. And he's here and he's looking. And he's saying, I've got to find a way out of this. And then it goes on and it says in verse 3, he says, hey, do you know what? I'm not strong enough to dig and I'm too ashamed to beg. I can't go and sit down in Belfast town and put my hands out. Because people are going to be walking past who know me, and I'm too ashamed for them to say, what happened? You were there, and now you're down there. Why are you begging? So he's got this problem. He's got to find a solution. And we're looking, and remember, Jesus is telling the story for a particular purpose, and I think we need to listen to what he's got to say. He's looking at the solutions, and he's got pros and cons. He's already put his brain into gear. In verse 4, it tells us what's happening. He says this, I've decided what to do. I've worked this out. I know exactly what I'm going to do. So that when I'm removed from management, people may receive me into their houses. So he's got a game plan. Now, he's probably a step ahead of a lot of us. We're just incurring and then incurring with our money and then incurring and then squandering and so on and so forth. But this guy's working it out. Hey, if I don't be careful with what I have, or now I'm in this situation, I've got to find a plan and find a way forward. Maybe in 2023, everything was going good. In 2024, he's going, uh-oh, here's a problem. Here's the problem. If I don't plan, if I don't think this through, I'm going to get caught and I'm going to be stuck. And all of a sudden he says, I know what to do. I've got this thing worked out. You still got those fivers? See, you're good. But he knows what to do. And the third thing happens then, and if I just put it down, he gets understanding, he gets a revelation, or whatever way you want to look at it, but he's looking at his problem, he's weighed it up and says, I know what to do now. I know what to do with my life. In verses 5 through 7, let's just read it. So summoning his master's debtors one by one, he said to the first, how much do you owe my master? He said, 100 measures of oil. And he said, take your bill, sit down, and quickly write 50. Now you think, oh, that's all right. I owed him a tenner. Now I only owe him a fiver. You're not catching the immense pressure this debtor was in. Well, what do you mean? Well, when it says he owed, let me just read it again. When it says that he owed 100 measures of oil, it calculates out about 875 gallons. Now, to help you work out what 875 gallons of oil is like, It's a bit like 3,315-litre bottles of pure virgin oil, okay? So that's what he's, can you imagine them all spread out? And this is what this guy owed. It's massive, it's colossal, and he's looking at it. Now, if you're thinking, well, it's not so much, it is. It mightn't sound much if you go down to Tesco's. But it's different if you're saying, I've got to go and collect all those olives. Then I've got to put them in a basket. Then I've got to get to a place where I prep the olives, grind them, press them. I think, I've looked up figures way out of my head in regard to how long it would take. I mean, olives, I think, they come once a year. So if you've got an acre of olive trees and you pick them all and you put them on, I don't even know whether it would get this. This guy's in trouble. And this guy starts to think through and he says, write 50. Now, if I was the guy that owed 875 gallons and you said to me, sure, just give me 50, you would be my best mate. I would just love you to bits. I would just think, wow. I would be looking and saying, Henry, thank you so much, only 50. See if you ever need anything, come and see me, because I'm going to help you out. I was just saying, you've got my ear anytime because you actually done this. I mean, he's crooked, but hey, that's the way it works. The next guy comes in, of course, in verse 6, verse 7, and he said to another, how much do you owe? And he says, I owe 100 measures of wheat. And he said to him, take your bill and write 80. Here's another one now, the measure of wheat in litres as well, so that's about 45,000 litres of wheat. That's a lot of wheat. That's a lot of bread. That's a lot of, and when you think of the process about doing that, you know, when you start thinking about bread or wheat, you've got to sow it. You know, you've got to till the land, you've got to sow it, you've got to look after it through the season as it's growing, you've got to cut it, you've got to thresh it, then you've got to winnow it, you know, and throw it up in the air. You've got all this process to get this stuff sorted. It's about 42,000 pounds of white flour. They don't have that in Tesco's at the moment. We have it in the food bank, but you don't have it in Tesco's. But I mean, there's so much. These figures are immense. And this guy obviously has been incurring upset, and now we see he's being underhanded. He's being totally underhanded. But the manager catches them. He helps them. And I'm sure those guys are looking and saying, if you need help, come and see me. I know I'm ready to help you. And here's the fourth one, and here's the, what do you call it, the snapper or the kicker of the story, the thing that's really freaks me out. The fourth point is this: he gets this uplift. What do you mean he gets an uplift? Well, if you stop for a minute, verse 8, would you hear what it says? The master commended. It's interesting, that word master. It's curious. It means Lord. The Lord commended the dishonest manager for his shrewdness. For the sons of this world are more shrewd in dealing with their own generation than the sons of light. That means he's looking at you and me and he's saying, hey, do you know what? People in the world are a lot smarter than the people in my church. Than my children, they just don't seem to get it. They don't seem to work it out. But this guy gets it, so he gets this uplift. He gets applauded. Now, if this is Jesus saying, well, I'm the master, he's looking at the guy in his shrewdness and saying, hey, this guy's got it all happening. Well done. You really, and it used to boggle my head, Lord, this guy's a real bad dude. Why are you doing this? And he said, well, you know, this guy, he has done something that the people in church won't do. He's prudent, he's thoughtful, he's worked this through, he's worked his way through his issue. Even though he was incurring and he got upset, he was even underhanded in how he dealt with it, but I want to give him the uplift. I want to praise him in front of all the others who don't know how to work out a situation. And you go, oh my word, this is just too much. He's actually saying, this guy's excellent. He's looking at him and he's going, I want to give him recognition so much I'm going to cause people down through centuries to look at this and go, why is he giving this crooked guy an uplift. Because he wants your attention and my attention about what's happening in the parable. And I don't think we give a lot of time to it. We let it slip by. Well, what do you think? How should I, or what do you think, or what way should we apply this? How can I take that? Is Jesus, is the Lord telling me go and steal and be crooked? Absolutely not. But he's got a purpose for writing it there, because he's saying, hey, the children in this world are smarter than the sons of light. He's saying there's something wrong in us. We're a wee bit dull. We're not thinking straight. I don't know what he said to you, but that's what he's saying to me, okay? But somewhere he's saying, I want you to think about this. Verse 9, let's just have a look at what it says. And he says this, and I tell you, make friends for yourselves by means of unrighteous wealth. Now that really stumbles you. So that when it fails, the unrighteous wealth fails, they may receive you into the eternal dwellings. Makes you start thinking, you're starting to turn it about the £5 I just gave you. You 9 people. That when we're talking about unrighteous or money, the unrighteous wealth or the unrighteous money or the unrighteous mammon, maybe your Bible says, it's actually just talking about the world commodities. It's talking about the possessions we have in the world. It's not talking about something that has the Queen's head on it. You know, it's saying, no, I want you to understand everything in the world is tainted. And he said, I want you to learn how to make friends with that. And all of a sudden, everything starts to change. He's actually saying this to us. Be like this bad man. Because here's a good lesson. Be like him. Use your money to make friends. Use your money to make friends. And I don't think a lot of us have actually worked that out when we realize what Jesus is saying, but it's very clear. He's saying, if you haven't been doing this in 2023, go through this door for 2024. Because that's why we have what we have. But I don't think we think that that's true. We don't. We've got the mortgage to pay. Money of unrighteousness, he calls it. You know, money that's made through people who are sinning or telling lies or stealing or whatever. He's just saying, look, it's the world. He's saying, take and use money to make friends. And then he says, when money fails, and I can only think your money's going to fail when you die. I've never seen, you know, I'm not going to go there. I've never thought very much about when money fails, because I don't think it's when you don't have money in your pocket. Maybe he's talking about something about when you die or I die, because it then ends with they'll take you into their eternal dwellings. There's some type of connection. I must admit I don't understand it all, but I do understand very, very clearly that he's saying, I want you to take money and use it to make friends. So now you're getting an idea what you're going to do with your fiver. Or maybe not. But there's somewhere he says, use your money to make friends for Christ. Use your money in order that you can win a friend of yours or someone that you know. Because money doesn't come so that you have it. There's something that he is trying to bring to our attention. And when you die, they will welcome you into their eternal homes. It's a bit like this. If you run something, let's say Anna works in, what's in the place, Sithra? So she's working in Sithra. She said, give your money to me because I want to help people outside. If you're talking to me, I say, give your money to JVC because we want to help people outside. So you understand, people are shouting for your money. What we do is people say, give your money to me, I want to hang on to it. But anyway, but there's, I want to say this to you. I don't know why you read the wee leaflet that Mark puts out. You should if you don't. We have given away from December 23 to December, 22 to 23, we have given away £55,000 as the church. And that's across the board, different things. Some of it was India, some of it was for people in need, some of it were for different churches. Just saying, let's just give this away. Why? Because we're making friends for Christ. But it's not just for churches. Paul says it this way. Let me put it to you so you get a bit more of a picture in the book of Philippians 4:17, and he says this. He's saying, send me a gift. He's saying to the churches, Paul said, send me a gift. And they're going, well, why should I? And this is what Paul says. It's not that I seek the gift, but I seek the fruit that's going to increase to your credit. Paul says, send me some money. Why? Because you need some credit. And I'm seeking the fruit that's going to grow from you through your giving. See, lots of people think, well, hold on a minute. I'm not going to give to Smyth or church or whatever it is, helping kids with blind eyes or whatever around the world, or band, giving money to food bank. You can think, well, they're all trying to pull money out of us. I'm not banned for whatever. Sometimes we get stuff and we get caught up. But he's saying, I want you to get credit for your account. I really want you to have credit for your account. That's why we're looking at this tonight. Why? Because it's important. Lewis, you asking money for church? Absolutely not. But if you want to, don't let me hold you back. But that's not what it is. I'm saying send the gift to someone. Why? Look, I started off with, let me just give this away. Why? Because I want you to have credit in your account, those 9 people. Now, I don't know whether you do or you don't, but I'm appealing to you. This is Jesus teaching something that so often we forget about, because we forget about making credit in our eternal home. So I want you to stop for a minute just tonight and think, hey, do you know what? This could be very real. He said, I want to seek the fruit, the outcome that's going to help you, that's going to work for you. It's going to go into your account, that it's going to change your eternal, it's going to change your destiny in regard to eternity, on how that's going to pan out, should I say. I think there's something he's saying, I want you to use your money like a bad man. Can you say that? Yes, you did. I want you to understand what the bad man was doing and why Jesus said, hey, I want you to think about this and work at this. Paul was a witness to everyone in the Roman guard when he was locked up. He says, send me some, because I'm winning these guys to Jesus. I wonder, was he blessing them? I wonder, was he banning? I wonder what he was doing, because Paul was a smart cookie. He was on fire for Jesus. He says, send money to me, because I'm winning all these people. I'm sharing the gospel at this level. He says, just send it to me. Why? Because you get the account for it. And so often we just sort of slip by. But maybe when you got your £5, and look, it's not going to buy you much. You can get 2 3/4 cups of coffee in Belfast. But you can actually get that. And what I want to say to you is this: take that £5 and let me sow towards you going and buying somebody else a cup of coffee. Don't tell them anything about me. Just do it. Let me partner with you. I want to sow to my account. So I want to say, well, here, because that's going to actually kick back to me, because I give it to you. And it's going to kick back to you if you add something to it and go and use it. Are you with me? Don't give it to somebody here, unless the Lord says, of course, but just plan it and think, I'm going to do this as an act of opening and writing something new in my heart about how to live my life and understand what finances are about. Because we're very much into being collective for ourselves. And I include myself in that. I'm not pointing people out. I'm saying, hey, maybe you just want to buy a present. Maybe you want to buy somebody lunch because you're extravagant. Whatever it is, but love on someone. So he said, be like him and do that. And then he says, don't be like him. Well, what do you mean? He says, well, don't be like him. He's saying, be careful how you handle money. Well, why should I be careful how I handle money? Well, you could be silly with it. Let me just go back to the text. Let's look at verse 10. This is Luke 16, verse 10. This is what Jesus says. The one who is faithful there's probably very, very few of us here that actually thought, I'm going to look after my clothes, my bedroom, and keep it tidy, and so on and so forth. Isn't that right? Or if you've got kids, you realize they don't do it. But if you just stop for a minute when you think about kids that don't look after their bedroom, or somebody that won't look after the house they live in, or their car, or their clothes. Let's just read in verse 11. Now remember the principle, faithful in little, faithful in much. Verse 11, if then you have not been faithful in the unrighteous wealth, the stuff that's in this world, who will entrust you the true riches? Who's actually going to give that to you? Who's actually going to say, well, this is what's true? Because we're talking about spiritual principles all of a sudden. And all of a sudden, Jesus changes from, hey, you're not going to be faithful for the little thing, so why should I give you the big things? He's talking about spiritual principles. I mean, when you're talking about elders, one of the things that you look at, hey, don't let them be greedy for money. But their pursuit is just about money. It says, not faithful with world money stops us being fruitful with our spiritual responsibilities. In verse 12, he goes on and he says, and if you've not been faithful in that which is another's, this is big right here, who will give you that which is your own? Let me think about that one. If I'm not going to be faithful with another's, well, I'm self-employed. Well, maybe it's just you're employed and it's about your boss because that's what the story is. Or maybe it takes a different slant because we're talking about spiritual principles. Maybe there's somewhere that we've got to work out that everything that we have today came from the Lord. So that means that I don't own my house and I don't own my car. And there's something that the Lord's saying, well, what are you doing with my house list? What are you doing with my car list? What are you doing with the money you have in your pocket list? Lord, give it away. I sowed the seed. But maybe he's looking at us because everything's on trust. And I've met some business people that have come, not here in this church, but have come and talked to me and said, I built a good business. And they've been really full on with it. And I said, well, just stop there. I said, you haven't built anything. You've just mucked about, and God bless you for some reason. I have no idea why. And I went, oh, well, right enough. That's probably the truth. I said, it's not probably. That is the truth. It's God that delivers to us everything that's good. Every good and perfect gift comes down from God, our Father in heaven. So somewhere we got to stop a minute and think, hey, do you know what? Spiritual health, even just down to money, intellect, business, giftings, no matter what it is, what you look at in your life that you think, hey, that's really a good thing. We should actually stop and just say, Lord, thank you that you released this to me. Let me be faithful with this. Because I think that we come up short so often. I wonder in this verse, in verse 12, who will trust you for the own? I wonder, is he talking about rewards at a later date? Because sometimes we collect here and lose later. That's possible. Somewhere we need to stop. So it says, don't be like him. Another way it says, don't be like him, I'm going to read it in verse 13 in a second. He says, you can only serve one master. Now, we know that very, very well, but what do you hear what it says? Verse 13, no servant can serve two masters, for either he will hate the one and love the other, or he will be devoted to the one and despise the other. But you cannot serve God and money. Now, I used to look at that, and I used to think to myself, I've got a choice here. I either serve God or money. And then when I read it, I started to realize, hold on a minute. Maybe it's saying there are two masters, and both masters think different. And it's not about who I choose to serve. It's about understanding the masters are different in their approach to how the world works. And if you start to think that, hey, hold on a second, maybe it's actually all about the master as opposed to about being a slave or a servant or whatever, It's about the master that you serve and how he thinks and how he feels. Because I know a God who's always saying, give, give, give. And I know money always says, keep, keep, keep. That's the way it works. Money will always bend the truth and say, hold on to me and you'll get more. And God says, give away and you'll get more. Because they both operate on two different planes. And if we're thinking about learning how to really move forward with the Lord this year, maybe you owe it to you for your credit to go and buy somebody a coffee, to go and love somebody with a lunch, to go and find somebody just to bless because it's not yours. It really belongs to him. Maybe there's someone that you know in your family just need you to call in and say, hey, I just bought you this. I want to serve you because God said. So I'm going to just close out just with this thought. Commit your money to win friends for Christ. Carefully handle the money that's entrusted to you. And remember, you can't serve money on that principle because it will leave you skint. But if you serve God and make him your master, something can change in your world and in our world. Can we stand to your feet? Is there a song to finish with? Or? Yeah. Well, let's just close our eyes and let's just pray. I know that I know we've talked about something that we don't often talk about is money in church. Because people get a bit funny, but I want something for your account. And that's constantly talked about in the Bible, about your account. On how to store up treasures in heaven. You know where it says, where your heart is, that's where your treasure will be. But there's people you can minister to for Christ's sake with the pound or the 10 or whatever it is in your pocket. And I know it's great because we're always looking at someone that's going to be close to us so they can say, my daddy, my granddad, my mate done this for me. I'm not talking about our mates. I'm talking about making a friend somewhere. You know, when you're standing in Tesco's and you realise somebody is searching or they haven't got their credit card and you just go